rot in hell. Feel what I feel. Let your family feel the hurt that I felt.
He needs to be put to death.
I felt relief because when I came out the door, I know I don't have to look behind my back every 2 seconds now.
24 hours of relief after weeks of fear. The man accused of 4 murders in Southeast Seminole Heights is behind bars tonight.
And Katie, despite the heartbreak, things are somewhat getting back to normal in this neighborhood for the first time in more than 50 days. You heard first here on Nightside from the police chief that a man was taken into custody in Ybor City yesterday and that man is charged with all 4 murders. We are learning a lot more about Howell Trey Donaldson III. We have learned a lot more about him today. Okay, so here's what we know. He will make his first court appearance tomorrow. The state attorney wants him to be held without bond. Police say he told a co-worker he was planning to leave the state. Police say they charged Donaldson based on the gun he handed in a bag to the manager of the McDonald's where he worked, along with clothing found in the back of his car in the McDonald's parking lot. They also used cell phone pings to place Donaldson in the areas of each murder around the time they happened. But investigators are still trying to figure out why.
He was cooperative, but he did not tell us why he was doing this. And, you know, there's been very many frustrating things during this whole process. We were really hoping to find out what was driving him to do this. We don't have those answers yet.
And we also heard today from the police officer who was in the right place at the right time. Officer Randy Whitney says she never thought that stopping into a McDonald's just to get a drink would lead to an arrest in the Seminole Heights case.
I was working on another lead. I had video of a possible suspect that I'm already contacted these guys at the, Jock, and was working on that, and I thought I need to grab something to eat quickly. I have to get the video to these people, and I got to run to a meeting. And so when she came over to me, I never would anticipate it because we've recovered a lot of weapons so far, and I never anticipated it to be that exact one.
And while police look into Donaldson's connection to this neighborhood, to Seminole Heights, Katie, you're learning a lot more about his early life, things like where he went to school and where he worked.
Howell Donaldson III, nicknamed Trey, was born in North Carolina in 1993, but he grew up here in Tampa. When he was 4, his father was convicted of domestic battery and false imprisonment. The victim was Trey's mother. Donaldson attended 3 different high schools in Tampa, transferring each time to get more time on the basketball court because basketball was a passion of his. And we caught up with the man who coached him while he was at Plant High School. At first, he could not believe Trey was the suspect.
It wasn't until I turned the news on and I started seeing the things on Facebook and on other social media that, yeah, this is really Trey. This is, the kid that played for us, that sat on the bench with us, that, worked hard in practice.
After Plant, Trey transferred to Alonzo High School. He graduated in 2011. A friend of his from high school was just as shocked as his coach.
He's a very, grew up good. He's got a good head on his shoulders. This is if you put him in a lineup with people, he'd be the last person I'd ever expect even to own a gun in the first place.
According to Trey's Facebook page, he went to St. John's University in New York after high school. He studied computer science and made it as a walk-on for the school's basketball team, but he never played. In 2014, he was arrested in Manhattan, but the details are not public. He graduated college in January, and we know he worked for Ultimate Medical Academy in Clearwater. Trey was fired for not showing up for work. And for the last 2 months, he was working at the Ybor City McDonald's. We've heard from other employees about their time working with Trey.
It's a sad thing because we had this guy in our kitchen, and everybody was spooked by him because he was strange.
And that McDonald's is ultimately where the suspect was taken into custody, and police say that he allegedly handed a gun to the manager of that store. Here in Seminole Heights, the Guardian Angels have been walking around this neighborhood every night since that first murder. Nightside's Sarah Rosario found out that they are still walking around this neighborhood despite this big break in the case.
We're just finishing our walk here tonight through Seminole Heights, and you know what we noticed? Now that an arrest has been made, we haven't seen the cop cars on every corner or the officers on foot. So we kept walking, and that's why these angels tell me they're not stopping.
They've walked more than 500 miles through the streets of Seminole Heights. Tonight, only 3 guardian angels, but their mission is still the same.
We're just here really for the citizens, let them know that somebody else is out watching.
But tonight is different. Now that a killer allegedly responsible for 4 murders here is locked up, they're still guarded.
I mean, even tonight patrolling, there's still that sixth sense.
Not giving up on a promise to make sure people feel safe. On their walk, a stop by each of the memorials, lighting candles, saying a prayer.
You know, it touches you in every aspect.
They don't have guns or a badge. These are volunteers.
We have a lot of former military, some former law enforcement, and we have regular citizens. We have business owners, lawyers, people like that, all walks of life.
All with day jobs, patrolling in shifts 2 to 3 times a day since October while a killer was on the loose. As passersby tell us they're breathing a sigh of relief, the community is thanking them.
I mean, it's nice to know that there's people out there that actually care.
It's hand in hand with their motto, Dare to Care, providing an extra element of safety, leaving a big impact in this community.
I can't give it up, it's in my blood.
As part of their commitment to this community, they'll be continuing patrols here 2 to 3 days a week. They tell me this neighborhood in particular will always have a special place in their heart. Sarah Rosario, 10 News.
Yesterday's arrest is exactly what the people of Seminole Heights have been waiting for, but they say after so many weeks of not knowing, it is not easy to feel at ease, and that's exactly what they told Nightside's Bianca Gralo.
Since we've been telling you about the arrest in the Seminole Heights serial killings, you've been hearing the word relief a lot, but it's not the same as going back to normalcy. How long will it take for people living in Seminole Heights to go back to feeling as safe as they did before the killing started? This sunset in Seminole Heights is different. It's not supposed to be as threatening as the dark hours of the past 51 days, but some still can't shake the feeling.
It's just very scary still. It's too fresh still to actually let it sink in that, okay, they got him.
For the past 2 months, the serial killer has been constantly on their minds.
Always watching the news and checking, on the phone if it did happen again to see if he, took another life.
It changed the way they do things.
I heard things and I jumped into the house because I got terrified.
My mom would be like, are you guys going outside? Come on, I'm going outside with you guys.
I felt trapped in the house.
There's no saying when they'll regain that peace of mind.
In the back of my head, I'm like, okay, I think they got him, but I'll still probably just look over my shoulder.
But until then, they plan on sticking together.
And most definitely I'll be walking with her.
Before we found someone willing to talk to us, we met a handful of people scared to go on camera, saying they're happy to hear they have someone in custody, but not ready to let their guards down. In Seminole Heights, Bianca Gralo, 10 News.
And as the investigation continues, we, of course, will pass along the information that we get. We'll have that updated on our website, WTSP.com, as well as on the 10 News app. But look, I know that you have a lot of questions about this case, like why exactly would the suspect go into that McDonald's and just put the gun there? And also, now that there's a suspect in custody, what exactly happens to the reward money? We will have answers for you in just a few minutes, but for now, I'm live in Seminole Heights.
An arrest in the Seminole Heights murder case is a huge relief for the neighborhood and for the whole Bay Area, but it hasn't put an end to the questions that you've been asking for almost 2 months now. And Carolina, hands down, the most common question we've been hearing today, what will happen with that massive reward money?
Oh, massive is absolutely right, Alex. $110,000 was on the line for any information leading to an arrest. So a lot of people have been wondering what exactly is going to happen. So according to Tampa police, the money came from a little bit of everywhere. Law enforcement partners contributed $85,000 and the community raised an additional $6,000. TPD says they will let each entity know their thoughts on what exactly led to an arrest, and it will then be up to the organization on how they will disperse the money. Some groups say they won't give anything until there is a conviction, but Richard Gonsmart, the owner of the Columbia Restaurant Group, who pledged $9,000, says, really, there's no need to wait.
And I don't think she did it for a reward. That's what makes it even more special. She doesn't look at herself as a hero. How do you not look at yourself as a hero when you take this monster off the street? She's a hero in my eyes.
And we also reached out to some of the other donors, including Brew Bus, the Southeast Seminole Heights Civic Association, and others. And for the most part, they were saying that the manager absolutely should get the money. Alex.
Another big question that keeps popping up: why did Trey Donaldson give his manager that gun? Well, Price Ann commented on our Facebook page, "That makes no sense to me. Was he wanting to get caught?" Well, 10 News anchor Courtney Robinson brought that question to a retired FBI special agent and crime prevention consultant.
Well, it could be one of two reasons. Somehow he trusted this individual to hold that for the person, for himself, or it was kind of his own way of saying, here's something, maybe I'm going to give you an opportunity to catch me and stop me before I do it again.
We're still waiting on police for answers to some of the other questions that you've been asking. Ashley commented, so he just graduated college this year and then decides to start killing random people? So strange. And Justina wants to know if Donaldson was living with anyone and why we haven't heard his answers to where he was during those murders. Our expert laid out the next steps investigators will take to get those answers.
And what they're going to be looking at, along with the prosecutors in preparing this case for trial, is what was his motivation and then what was his strategy? What was his safe haven? He got away every single time from after committing these incidents without being caught. So there was somewhere, somehow, that he had a strategy that he was able to avoid capture.
Police told us today that they're looking into whether Donaldson might be connected to any other unsolved crimes, but the chief says that's probably not the case.
All right, time for a warm forecast for the area over not just the next couple days, but it looks like the next several days into the end of next week. I think that's when we'll see a big change. 85 degrees out there today, guys. That's 10 degrees above the average of 75 and only 1 degree away from a record high temperature of 86 set back in 2010. Pretty quiet out there now. It's a time lapse of tonight. We haven't seen much. 71 degrees. We do have mainly 60s for most of the area. Tomorrow morning when we wake up, we're talking mid-60s for most areas. There will be some patchy fog. This is much warmer than where we have been. At least a few degrees from what we saw this morning, but you notice over the last couple days we really warmed things up. These are current numbers right now: 71 in Tampa, 66 in Land O'Lakes, 68 in Plant City. Satellite and radar is basically clear. There's this prescribed burn up here towards with Lacoochee Forest area. That put that smoke in the area earlier today. We may get some more tomorrow. The northeast winds will blow it right back down through here. So keep that in mind if you do happen to smell anything. No rain for us. 10% chance for tomorrow is best chance over on the East Coast. I just don't think we see a lot. Speaking of satellite, look at that. That is a look at the tropics. It is quiet. Tomorrow's the last day of November. It's the last day of hurricane season. Don't expect any developments. Look at that. 17 named storms, 10 hurricanes, 6 of those were Category 3 or higher. And you can see here's where all the storms were throughout the entire year. It was a busy year. It was a record-setting year, almost $400 million in damage. And then here you go. Remember Emily in April? Then, of course, we had Irma, and then Tropical Storm Philippe came up across South Florida. We are glad to get this season behind us. All right, tomorrow morning, upper 50s, Brooksville, most areas low to mid-60s. Tomorrow afternoon, look for a lot of sunshine. Again, just a patch or two of fog in the morning, but back into the low 80s again. Warm, relatively humid through the weekend, but by Wednesday into Thursday, we could be seeing some of the coolest air we have seen so far, and that could last for a good week or so into the middle of December.
So we're back out live right now in Seminole Heights, and I'm joined by Nightside reporter Bo Zimmer. So Bo, right now police are trying to figure out how exactly the suspect is connected to this neighborhood.
Yeah, a lot of questions. And of course, we've all seen the map of where these 4 murders took place, all within a couple blocks of one another, right in Southeast Seminole Heights. And so that gave us all a lot of questions. How was he connected? Tonight we drove around and visited some of the locations that this family, the family of the suspect, owns. At last check, he actually lived in a house with his parents in the Town and Country area, nowhere near any of these murders. So what's Donaldson's connection with Seminole Heights? After a search of property records, we found out that his parents own this cosmetology school near Dale Mabry and Waters. We are not in Seminole Heights, but we're only about 4 miles away. We also found his grandfather owned a property here along the 11,000 block of North Nebraska Avenue, just 4 miles away from the murder scenes. Property records also show Howell's father owned this boarded up house in the Sulphur Springs area. Here we're only about 3.5 miles away from the murders. And perhaps closest to ground zero for all of these murder scenes is this location. This is where his mother owned a home here on McBarry. We're about 10 blocks west of where all of these murders happened. 2 streets to the north is Frierson. That's where the first murder happened. 2 streets to the south is Caracas. That's where the last murder happened. And so all of these properties fall within a 4-mile radius of the cluster of murder scenes, and that could help establish that Donaldson would have at least been familiar with these areas around Seminole Heights. Yeah, so very interesting to see the proximity of all this. It really paints a picture of just how close and how familiar this suspect might have been with this area in Seminole Heights.
And as you continue to dig, it's like the more answers we get, the more questions we have. So we'll stay on top of it.
And the other stories making headlines tonight, Matt Lauer is out.
That's right. NBC fired its longtime Today Show co-anchor after allegations of, quote, inappropriate sexual behavior with a colleague. Now, a 2-month investigation by Variety magazine reveals he reportedly exposed himself to a coworker and gave another an adult toy as a gift. NBC says they learned of these claims Monday night. Since then, the network confirms 2 more accusers have come forward. His former co-anchors broke the news on the Today Show this morning.
Deputies need your help finding this woman, 12-year-old Naomi Ojeda from Orlando. She's 5'3" and 180 pounds. She was last seen wearing a dark blue hoodie and sweatpants. If you've seen her, please call police.
And the Trump administration is promising new sanctions against North Korea after the nation tested its most daring long-range missile on Tuesday. Korean dictator Kim Jong-un claims it could reach anywhere in the U.S. Now, we still don't know if it could actually support a nuclear warhead and survive re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere.
President Trump has called on China to cut off oil from North Korea as a punishment.
Now, from your Suncoast Hyundai dealers, this is 10 Sports.
19 games in, everything just seemed too easy for the Bolts. The goals came in bunches. The saves from Vassie were spectacular. The wins and points, they piled up. But you knew at some point they'd come back down to earth. Well, wave hello to reality, because it is here. Boy, oh boy, this slump, it is continued tonight in Boston. Here's what you need to see. Tyler Johnson just can't catch a break. He's in a 14-game goalless drought. Looks like he gets one to go here, but a check of the replay, and the puck actually never cleared the line. Bad bounce goes against the Bolts. Actually ended up being the difference in the 3-2 loss. As for what you need to know, Nikita Kucherov, he has cooled off considerably since that hot start. After scoring 17 goals in his first 19 games, he's 0 for his last 5. You got to shake off that rust, shake off that slump. The Bolts get back to their winning ways. Now, the Bucks are going to need some more Band-Aids. The trip to Atlanta was more painful than just the loss on the schedule. DeMar Dotson, Ali Marpet, 2 of the Bucks starting linemen, out for the rest of the season after suffering knee injuries, which means Jameis Winston might be running for his life in Lambeau when he returns to the field on Sunday. Not really the most ideal way to welcome back your franchise quarterback. Jameis Winston, though, however, will be on the field. Winston's going to suit up and start Sunday after missing the last 3 games with an AC joint sprain. He is 0-4 since suffering the injury against Arizona. Meanwhile, let's check in and see how things are going at Winston's alma mater.
So I'm wondering, where's the loyalty to the program, Jimbo?
It's here tonight on Wednesday. It's here tonight on Wednesday, Michael.
Yeah, but it might not be by next week, Michael. I feel like this is the real-life version of that nothing to see here GIF where things are just exploding in the background. Yeah, it's that bad for Florida State because the flirting, it's gotten serious between Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M. The Aggies have apparently offered Fisher a lucrative deal. He is as close as ever to leaving Florida State. But why? Well, here's simply the reason why. According to the Tallahassee Democrat, there's some internal friction between Fisher and athletic director Stan Wilcox and also some high-level FSU boosters. That could force Fisher's hand. He's keeping FSU in the dark right now, which has a lot of people thinking he might actually bolt Tallahassee. And if he does, Willie Taggart might just be on the way back to the Sunshine State. USA Today reporting FSU admins have already begun the vetting process for the Bradenton native and former USF coach. Taggart is in his first year at Oregon, but will be a top target of FSU's if Fisher leaves town. So why would Willie be coveted by Florida State? Well, simply he checks all the boxes. For one, he is affordable. His buyout as of right now before January is only $3 million, so FSU won't have to pony up a ton of cash to get him. He's also an elite recruiter, somebody who has built some fantastic teams in the state of Florida. He did it at USF and certainly could do it with that brand of Florida State behind him. And last but not least, he's an exceptional play caller, guys. This is somebody whose offense right now at Oregon is top 30 in the state, in the country, I should say, in scoring offense. And at USF last year, the Bulls were top 15 in scoring offense. Willie, checking all the boxes, would certainly be a good backup plan if Fisher decides to bolt.
Accused serial killer Trey Donaldson has a lot of friends who've known him since he was a child, and tonight I went to West Chase to talk to a father and a son who say they are shocked and devastated. Alex, they even got out the yearbook from Farnell Middle School in Tampa, and they showed me Trey's photo from way back when. They say he was a great kid and really a peacemaker.
Not the kid. Far from it. Stunned, shocked. The last person, if you were to put the senior class of that graduating class and you would say, guess which person in that class could be a serial killer? The last person would be him.
One thing about Trey that always stood out to me was there was always a basketball in his hand. We learned to play basketball with each other in the neighborhood, you know, so that's why it's kind of difficult to realize that somebody of that character that I knew, that everybody knew, you would do something like this.
They are really struggling with this, Alex, as you might imagine. They say, of course, they know he's innocent until proven guilty. They say it does not look good, but they are still praying that they will wake up and find out this was some sort of horrible mistake. They also said, though, they're extremely sympathetic to all of the families.
All right, well, that's it for Nightside.
We'll see you tomorrow.